Okay, hi. Welcome back. I will be doing my July reading recap for the month of July. This month I read a total of 6 books, but out of those 6 books, one of them was on my TBR. So I'm gonna start from the first book I read, which was Reckless by Lauren Roberts. I only have the hardback of this book, but I read this mostly while I was away in WA, which that video will be coming probably not long after this video goes up. But yeah, I mainly read this at the start of July, and this was one of the books on my TBR and the only one that I read on my TBR. And this book I rated 5 stars. I really liked the storyline and everything to do with the book. Okay, as I was saying before I got interrupted, I rated Reckless 5 stars. I really liked the book. I really liked the storyline as well, and I feel like the cliffhanger was pretty nice. It's not... I like the cliffhanger. It wasn't necessarily, like, it was kind of a good cliffhanger, but compared to things like Onyx Storm, the cliffhanger, I don't know if that is because Onyx Storm, the next book, isn't out yet, so yeah, but I really liked the cliffhanger. It was nice, simple, and I loved this love story development of the 2 main characters. So yeah, I rated this 5 stars. The next book that I finished was A Court of Thorn and Roses. This was on my TBR, not for July, but for June. It was on my June TBR, as it was one of the 2 books that I wanted to finish for the month, but I just didn't. But I ended up finishing it this month. I rated it 3.5 stars. Because, don't get me wrong, I liked it. I liked the storyline, but it took me a while to get into it. And I usually find it, even with, like, most books, some books, like the Powerless series and, like, Fourth Wing and things like that, I found that I loved reading the book physically and well, I'm not sure about Powerless, but at least with Fourth Wing, I liked reading it physically and listening to the graphic audio, but mainly I liked reading the book physically. Some books like Collide, which is on my TBR, I preferred listening to the audiobook for. Some books I prefer reading on my iPad through the Kindle app before I got my Kindle and things like that. But this book just took me a while to get into. The romance is there. I can see why people like it, but at the same time I may or may not have accidentally spoiled some of it for myself by watching a plot summary and knowing also what happens in the next book. Like, I can see how people like the story and the romance, but it just wasn't quite there. Like, don't get me wrong, I liked the book, but I wasn't obsessed with it. I didn't love it. I liked it, had a great storyline, and I will definitely be continuing the series. I also have the next book anyway, but I liked it, but I didn't absolutely love it like some of the other series that I have read, like Powerless, Fourth Wing, even Icebreaker and Wildfire. I've loved those, but haven't been obsessed, but I like those storylines more than this. But to be fair, I'm more of a romantic-y kind of girl. So the next book that I read was Fearless by Lauren Roberts to finish the Powerless trilogy. I'm just going to wait for the novella in September. But I rated this book 5 stars. I loved the story. Not quite as much as Powerless and Reckless and Powerful, but I still loved the storyline. I loved the romance. I loved that with the happy ending for the 2 main characters. I liked I love the covers as well, and I like it's like the last chapter is 5 years later, and then they've got, because it's a dual POV throughout the series and this book, but then there's point of views that I don't know if they're chapters. It doesn't say chapter like 4 or 5 when this other point of view comes forward, but there is another point of view that gets added in, and then an epilogue that's put in that's from a different perspective. I don't think that's a massive spoiler, but it's something. But I loved the book, I love the series, I also love the covers. I also want the hardback of this, and for this series I've got 2 out of the 4 books in paperback and 3 out of the 4 books in hardcover. Powerless I've got paperback and hardback of, but I'm probably going to get the paperback for Powerful and Reckless, so then I can start annotating it as well. But this was a 5-star read for me. I absolutely loved it. I think I started reading this roughly in the middle of the month, and it took me 11 days to finish. But I really love the series. It did take me a while, a bit to read, but it's definitely one of the quicker reads that I've had. But I found that I've been reading a bit quicker this month. I don't think I'll, for the next few months till November, I don't think I'll be reading as much as I will be at uni, but yeah, so the next book that I read was Collide. I mainly listened to the audiobook of this. Don't get me wrong, I loved it. What was the star rating? I rated this 4 stars. I honestly love the storyline. It's a romance, sport romance. It's part of the Off the Ice series. The next book in this series, Spiral, was on my TBR, and I wanted to read this before reading that. So then I could kind of understand the storyline a bit, because I think it's similar to Icebreaker, where you need, like, it's part of a series but it's also a standalone. But I wanted to read this before reading Daydream, because I found reading Icebreaker before Wildfire was really helpful for me, or a bit helpful, and I could kind of relate to the relationship. So yeah, like, it wasn't, I loved it, I loved the book, I love the storyline, but it wasn't quite top tier for me compared to like Fearless and Reckless, where they were amazing. The next book that I read on Kindle, through the Kindle app on my iPad through Kindle Unlimited, was Sia by Eden O'Neill. That was also 4 stars, but it was my first proper kind of dark romance, kind of crime syndicate kind of book. I loved it, really did, but then again, there were parts where I'm like, okay, I love the book, but it wasn't quite there, but it was still an amazing read. I honestly loved it. I think I'm starting to get a bit more into these kind of more dark romance kind of books. But it is kind of a spicy one a bit. At least for me, from what I'm used to reading, it's definitely a bit more spicier than what I was expecting. Or, not what I was expecting, but yeah. And then the last book that I have read, which I haven't quite finished filling out, was Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. I read a bit of this book physically, but I ended up biting the bullet and buying it on Kindle, because they don't have it through Kindle Unlimited. I am reading this book. I finished this today earlier, maybe like 20-30 minutes ago, maybe a bit less. I ended up buying it on Amazon for my Kindle. I bought it specifically to read on my Kindle. I read a bit on my iPad, but mainly read it on my Kindle. And the reason I'm rating it 3.75 is I love the storyline a bit. There were just certain parts where it didn't quite grab me and kind of push me away from the book, but mostly loved it. Not obsessed with it, but I still love it. Like, I would definitely read it again if I wanted to, but yeah. So I think on Goodreads I rated it 3 stars, but I wish they had like the option to do 3.25, 3.5, 3.75 in the books. But yeah, I liked it. I loved it mostly, but there were still a few parts where I'm like, not the best. But yeah, I loved it. So yeah, they were the 6 books that I read. 5 of them I have physically. I don't think they don't sell serum books in the bookstores that I go to. Well, I don't think QBD or Dimmicks have it. So yeah, but yeah. So recap. Deep End 3.75. Sia 4 stars. Collide 4 stars. Fearless 5 stars. Court of Thorn and Roses 3.5 stars. Reckless 5 stars. And the next part of this video will be my August TBR, but I thought I would mention before, you see that I have 5 books on my TBR for next month. I don't know how much I will get around to be reading, as I do start uni next week and will be focusing on university as that's my main priority. But yeah, and I will have the unboxing of this on my TikTok, I think my Instagram and YouTube shorts, and or possibly in a video that will be coming out in a few days of my life. So yes, but I hope you enjoy, and I hope you enjoy the next section of this video. So yeah, bye. Okay, so today I will be filming my August TBR for 2025. I don't know if this will be before or after my reading recap, either one. So but I've got my prompts in here instead of where they were, because I just think this is better. I've got my books here. I am filming this on the 25th of July, so we've got just under a week till the end of the month. This should be up hopefully by the end of the month. So yeah, so let's start with the prompts. I don't have a massive amount. Before I get the prompts, I will show you all my books that are to be read at the moment, which includes all these books along here, and then all these books along here. These 3 are on my July TBR, then these are on my 6th month TBR, and then here they are not, but actually I am taking deep, before I start, I'm taking Deep End off because my goal is to read this by the end of July, so I'm not going to include it in the options available. I'm also sorry for me kind of getting cut out of the frame because you are literally on a pile of books. Okay, let's start. Okay. A book that reminds you of your favourite season. Ooh, I don't necessarily have a favourite season, but I do like winter. Okay, the first 2 that come to mind are by Juliet Murphy and Sierra Simone. I don't think I ever realised that they were both by the same author, but it's A Merry Little Meet Cute. Yes, they're Christmas books, and A Holly Jolly Ever After. Yes, they are both Christmas books, but they're winter. Let me actually check, because why do I feel like it could be a part of a series? Okay, so it's part of a series, the Christmas Notch series. This is the first book in the series, this is the second, but there's one in between. I think there's 1, 2, There's 5 in total. 2 books that are 2.5, but this is the first and second. This is the first and this is the second book. I don't think there's any others. No. So I'll do this one because it's the first book in the series, and I don't want to start this because I feel like it could be like a standalone series, or similar to like the Maple Hill series and Off the Ice series, where like the books are standalone, but they're kind of interconnected. So I'll choose the next prompt. A book that fits the current season, which is winter here in Australia. So I will do A Holly Jolly Ever After because they're both winter books. I love winter. Yeah, don't get me wrong on summer, but I do like myself a good winter book. And yes, they're both Christmas books, but I do not care. And plus, they're both in the same series. I don't know if I'll end up getting like trying to get like this like 1.5 Snow Place like LA in between before I read the second book if I get to it. So yeah, I'll probably also be choosing for I'll do 5 prompts. Okay, the next prompt is most recent purchase. Ooh, I don't know my most recent purchase. Actually, no, I do. King of Wrath. I think this was on my July TBR. Is it? Let me check. Okay, it's not on my July TBR, but it is on my 6-month TBR, which is like what I kind of want to read over the next 6 months. But it is on that, so I can grab this. And I'm pretty sure it's this. Yeah. Oh, it has a playlist as well. Okay, 2 more prompts. Far too many. An author I've never read before. Okay, I've got a few. I can't do Ellie Hazelwood. I can't do Check and Mate because that's Ellie Hazelwood. I can't do, well, I could do Jane Harper, but I don't know if I would want to read it. Okay, I've got a few books that are possible options. One being The Spy's Wife. I kind of know what this book's about, but not entirely. But I haven't read Fiona, I don't know how to say that last name, yet. And I'm also not a massive fiction girly. I'm more of a romance fantasy girly, especially a romance. But another book that I have seen is Nothing Like the Movies by Lynn Painter. I think this is a part of a series and the first book is better than the movies. If you know, let me know. I might search it up later. And that's, I think, a romantic comedy. Right as they were about to set off to college together, tragedy struck and the two split up in the fallout. Wes is determined to do anything to make Woods fall, and luckily his foolproof plan with rom-com worthy swoon. I've never read a rom-com before, but I do like romance. Another book that could possibly work is Dry, but I had the same prompt for I think my June TBR, and I chose The Lost Man by Jane Harper, but I've seen the film for this. So I might pick, as much as I really want to read The Spy's Wife and Nothing Like the Movies. I might pick The Dry because it's just going to be easier to kind of, not easier, but like nicer to read, I guess. So here we go. The Dry by Jane Harper. And I just put the prompts in here so I can't. Accidentally take the same prompt out twice. Okay. Okay. A book you can read in one day. Ooh. What could that be? I feel like The Roommate could be an option. It's 315 pages. I'm not necessarily going for the shortest, but yeah. I was gonna think of Miss Peculiar's Home for Peculiar Children. I got gifted this to me quite a few years ago, along with the second book, but I don't know if I will read that in a day. Ooh. Another possible option is Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood. Have I read any of her books? I don't know if I have, but let me check. I haven't read any of her books, but well, as of yet, but I am planning on reading Deep End this month, by the end of the month. So I should hopefully have read a book of hers. I don't think I have. For some reason I thought I'd read The Love Hypothesis, but I hadn't. So yeah, but I know that that book is getting turned into a movie or TV show. I think movie with Lily Reinhart, and oh my god, I'll put the face of the other guy, of the guy that's playing the mate, like the love interest. I saw that on TikTok through Lily Reinhart actually. So yes, but I will probably pick I'll check this out. I might do Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood because that just, I don't know why, but it seems to interest me slightly more than The Roommate. Don't get me wrong, The Roommate still interests me, but just not in the same way. Okay. And just so people know, for me, my TBR isn't set in stone. Like, I'm more of, it's just kind of like, okay, it's guideline. I'd like to read it all, but it's just guidelines that, like, if I don't finish it, I'm not going to be overly fussed. So yeah, I'm just gonna, I'll move you down. I'll move you down so you can see my cart, and then we can, so then I can reorganize everything. And then to recap the TBR. as you can see, I have moved everything around here. I've still got a few book spots here which I can move a few books from my bookshelves that I haven't read yet down, but also some of the ones that are up there that I haven't read are part of a series where I don't have the first book, or I want to reread the first book because I haven't read it in ages. So yes, so let's recap. We have Check and Mate by Adley Hazelwood, The Dry by Jane Harper, King of Wrath by Anne Huang, I think that's how you say it, A Merry Little Meet Cute, and A Holly Jolly Ever After. And then these are either part of my 6-month TBR or July TBR that I won't get to. So yes, by the way, I thought I'd point out this is the stack of books you're on. These two I just added towards the end while you were on the ground, but it includes Fourth Wing, Powerless, Icebreaker, and The Queen's Assassin, which is a reread that I want to read and see if it's as good as I remember it to be. The others are all also rereads, but this, you can see I've kind of started annotating, but a bunch of them I just put in where the spice scenes are. I'm only a short way through, but I read this in 2023. This, I've got Powerless. I haven't started properly annotating, but you can see I've got a few tabs. That's just because I wanted to like tab the page, but I started reading that earlier this year, and I'm almost done with the series. And then I've got Fourth Wing, which I have started annotating. Well, I'm not similar with Icebreaker. I'm a bit of the way through, but I've annotated certain parts of it. So yeah, and then I added Collide and Deep End as well. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe if you did, if you want more book content as well.